In this video, we will witness a UK reporter throw a Republican journalist off balance as he attempts to justify Donald Trump's actions. As always, let's watch the entire video, and I'll share my thoughts at the end.
In Washington of late, Mr. Trump has made a point of wearing his red trademark MAGA, that's Make America Great Again cap, to show that he stands by his base. An important signal, because some of the president's once faithful flock are doubting their leader, doubting his commitment to end forever wars after he said he was going to be sending a new set of missile systems to Ukraine, and doubting his commitment to open up the files on the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. I'm now joined by Senior Editor-at-Large at Breitbart News, Joel Pollack. Joel, thank you so much for joining us. So let's put this simply, is the MAGA base falling apart?
Well, they ran a poll after the successful U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear facilities that was ordered by President Trump. And among self-described Trump supporters, this is an independent poll, 6% disagreed with Trump's decision. So 94% of Trump's supporters are fully on board with his foreign policy, at least in terms of engaging in wars overseas, and 6% are not. The question of Ukraine is not really a question about whether the base supports it or not. Trump is trying to get both sides to the negotiating table, and I think people understand that. People also understand that Russia has perhaps used the prospect of peace and negotiations to become more aggressive, and this only works if both sides are committed to peace. So Trump, I think, has been pushed into a situation where he has to shore up Ukrainian defenses so that Russia doesn't try to take advantage of the negotiations that Trump wants. So I think the base have actually given Trump quite a bit of leeway.
Let me just ask you, so what you're saying is there is support for the United States involved in those strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran, and you're saying that Ukraine is more nuanced. But let's just look at what Jack Posobiec, who's a big MAGA supporter, he cheered the initial decision that those weapons were being paused to Ukraine. That was a decision of Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of Defense. He posted America first at that decision, and then the president overturned that decision. So there is deep unease, surely there is, in the MAGA base over military support for Ukraine.
Well, Jack's a friend of mine, and he's very vocal, and he gets a good story, often gets great scoops, and has a unique perspective. But the American people, and that includes Trump supporters, are not biased against foreign military involvement. They're biased against losing. And if Trump can produce a successful outcome of his policy in Ukraine, which is a policy of moving toward negotiations and toward peace, then I think people will be fine with whatever he has to do to get there. I do think that Trump supporters believe that he has done everything he can to pull both sides to the negotiating table. People understand that Russia has also been very aggressive with missile strikes, and I think people understand that Trump has no choice but to shore up Ukrainian defenses and to hope that that will bring Russia back to the table. Now, ultimately, Trump has said that he will walk away completely if Russia shows no interest, and I think people would be happy with that as well. It's not a blind loyalty to Trump, but people understand he's doing his best and that these are difficult situations.
Now, one of the issues that is causing concern amongst the MAGA base are the so-called Jeffrey Epstein files. This is obviously the late sex offender, and during the election campaign, Donald Trump did rather give the impression that he wanted absolutely everything out there. That has now not happened with those files, the so-called client list. There were suggestions that he hadn't committed suicide. That's not going to happen. It's now been decided that he had indeed taken his own life. And there are real concerns about this. I'm thinking of Marjorie Taylor Greene, a well-known Trump supporter in the House of Representatives. She's not happy about this. And this evening, there's suggestions that Dan Bongino, who's the Deputy Director of the FBI, who did campaign for openness around Epstein, suggestions he may well have resigned. He's changed his position, but it looks like he's not happy with the way that this has been handled by the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. So another area of real concern amongst that base.
Not really. It's a drama playing out in the media, but it doesn't really affect Trump's support. People didn't vote for Trump because of Jeffrey Epstein. The possibility exists.
Are you saying that the Deputy Director of the FBI, who's a well-known Trump supporter, big podcaster, you're saying that we definitely know he's upset? There was a big row in the White House suggestions he might have resigned. Is that just a media
What do you definitely know? Well, what do you definitely know? I mean, you're saying all this. You don't even know what's in the files or what's not in the files.
No, I'm not talking about the files. I'm talking about the Deputy Director of the FBI not being happy. That's reported very authoritatively by Axios News, that he's not happy.
Axios is not an authoritative source on anything. Dan Bongino did say before he became Deputy Director of the FBI that he was convinced there was a client list and all of that. Then he was actually in the position to know, and he came out, not just recently, several weeks ago, and said, I've seen all the evidence that there is, and I'm convinced that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. That is actually transparency. I mean, you're assuming that transparency would require releasing all of this information, which was always speculative. And what Bongino said several weeks ago was that I've now seen all the information, and there's nothing more to the story. Now, people can believe that that's a cover-up if they want to, but it is possible that transparency simply means revealing that there's nothing left to the story. And that actually has been my assumption for quite some time. I think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself because he was being dragged back into prison for sex crimes that, however terrible, he had already had a plea bargain to deal with and thought he had put behind him. He then understood that because of politics, he was never going to get out of jail again. And I think he killed himself for that reason. That was my belief at the time. It remains my belief today. But that's my own speculation.
Great. Joel Pollak, thank you so much for joining us from Washington.
Trump. Let's watch the entire video as usual. I'll share my opinions with you all at the end. So, midway through the interview, you could see his frustration mounting, visibly unsettled. You heard him inquire, well, what exactly do you know? He misunderstood the reporter because his irritation started showing. Now, let's be completely upfront and candid about the cracks appearing within the MAGA movement. Honestly, I'm not sure when MAGA supporters will finally realize that Donald Trump is not trustworthy. He just isn't. On numerous issues he campaigned on, he's contradicted himself. Okay? He's contradicting himself now too. What baffles me is how many MAGA folks now seem to draw the line at child trafficking, and I won't mention the particular word since we're on YouTube, but yes, child trafficking. They've decided this is the boundary, rather than all the lies and deceits he's committed before. We all know that Donald Trump consistently walks back on his promises. Trump campaigned, claiming he'd release the Epstein files. He promised this during interviews, yet now that it's time to fulfill this promise, he's labeling people as dull and dismissing anyone concerned about the Epstein files as negative individuals. This is what Trump is communicating to his followers, urging them to move on. This is why there are fractures appearing within the MAGA base, and I must say, I'm all in favor of this. I genuinely believe MAGA represents a blemish on humanity because I think they consist of individuals who harbor a mindset desiring negative outcomes. That's my honest belief. Now, don't just take my word for it. Visit Twitter, surf the internet, and you'll see numerous accounts this week of individuals declaring they are no longer Republicans, no longer MAGA, stating that they supported Trump but draw the line at child trafficking. These statements are emerging due to the significant cracks surfacing. There's rampant speculation that Donald Trump is on that infamous list, and many find it believable due to him being repeatedly filmed and photographed with Jeffrey Epstein. I think there are even recordings of Trump with Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump isn't handling this matter with the seriousness it warrants, and some of his supporters are beginning to see that realization. When it comes to shipping weapons to Ukraine once again, I personally believe he should maintain that support, but this highlights Trump's tendency to mislead people. This contradicts his America First message. It truly does, even though I view those actions positively. Nevertheless, he vowed to his base that America First would be a priority, promising to steer clear of foreign wars. Yet, we've witnessed his involvement with Iran and Israel, and now with Ukraine and Russia. Notable voices have risen against Trump on this matter. Steve Bannon has critiqued Trump's handling of the Epstein files. Tucker Carlson has embarked on a media spree discussing this without hesitation. Even Laura Loomer, despite her eccentricities in my view, has been vocal. Marjorie Taylor Greene and others have shared their opposition to sending weapons to Ukraine. Steve Bannon, Thomas Massie, and others have faced Trump's backlash. This is nothing new. Yet, MAGA supporters, unfortunately, don't heed these warnings. They fail to pay attention, and when a situation unfolds like this, they face a breaking point. This is the tipping point for MAGA. In my opinion, they are the worst of the worst. But let me hear your thoughts on this clip, on this video where that Republican reporter seemed to unravel and get slightly irritated when asked particular questions by the British journalist. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and while you're there, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you in the next one.